Namaste and greetings. I, GBAT, researcher and assistant editor at IMPRI, Impact and Policy Research Institute, Prabhav Evam Niti, Anusandhan Sansthan, Nai Delhi, extend my warmest welcome to you all to IMPRI #Web Policy Talk. Access to sanitation and safe and clean drinking water is recognized by the UN General Assembly as a human right. Appreciating the significance of sanitation, today we are gathered for a special talk on Sanitation for All by Professor Manvita Baradi as a part of the #Local Governance series. This event is organized by IMPRI, Center for Habitat, Urban and Regional Studies, and IMPRI, Impact and Policy Research Institute, New Delhi. Now, let me take this moment to introduce the gathering. We are pleased to have with us as the moderator of today's session, Tikender Singh Panwar. He's a former Deputy Mayor of Shimla and a visiting Senior Fellow at IMPRI, New Delhi. We welcome you, sir. Our esteemed speaker for today is Professor Manvita Baradi. She's the Director of Urban Management Center, Ahmedabad, an organization working towards professionalizing urban management in India and in South Asia. She was on the expert panel for sanitation under Swachh Bharat Mission and is the head of the Technical Support Unit for National Urban Livelihood Mission of the Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs. She has also served as an expert on USAID, ABB, EU, and World Bank funded programs for local governance, association development in India, and in post-conflict regions like Afghanistan, Indonesia, and Sri Lanka. We are honored to have you here, ma'am. Welcome to the session. Now, I invite our moderator, Tikender Singh Panwar, to initiate the discussion with his opening remarks and then proceed with the talk by our speaker, Professor Manvita Baradi. We look forward to learning from our esteemed gathering. Thank you.
Thank you, Ati, for such a nice introduction. I hope my voice is audible there. Is it?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, and welcome, Professor Manvita. It's really a pleasure to be here, to be with you, and to listen to your views on this important topic. I think sanitation for all. I mean, just to contextualize this discussion, and this is what we have been doing in the series that we've been running called #Local Governance, whereby we are bringing the issues of local governance to the fore, right from planning to participatory mode to governance, and also pointing out to the important fact that actually the way forward for resilience, for more sustainable growth and development has to be located in the context of local governance. And sanitation is I think something very, very important for that. Not just from the perspective of planning, but also those who are into this process of sanitation. That means our sanitation workers. And I do not want to speak more on what is the scenario, because I'm sure Professor Manvita will speak on that. But I think the situation is pretty precarious, and I mean, though we are not very good in many of the indices as far as the global indices are concerned, but even on sanitation, we are not faring any better. I mean, as far as the waste generation in the country is concerned, we know that almost 50 to 60% of the waste is either dumped in the landfill sites, and we do not even know the kind of leachate that takes place later on. And the kind of contradiction that gets brewed in between the center and the periphery, because normally these waste plants, the dumping sites are in the peripheral regions. And we have the 2016 data, which speaks about that on nearly 62 million tons of waste is generated every year, and with a 4% increment every. So we can understand what is the waste that we generated in 2021, and just 15% is processed. I mean, it's mind-boggling. Just imagine, only 15% of the waste is processed. Where is this waste going? I think so. When we speak about at the macro matter level, I think it's something very important. And interestingly, I mean, why I'm bringing this, and Professor Manvita, I want you to address this question very, very essentially. Because there's a push from the center, and since we have seen many of the city sanitation plans, and these plans are normally written by experts who come from various corners and from various prejudices, and then push for more capital-intensive technologies, not realizing that waste-to-energy plant is not a solution. And one of the speakers earlier pointed out that these ustads, actually, these consultants, they termed them as ustads. These ustads tell you that this is the way how you have to design your sanitation plans, not realizing that more than 50% of our waste is organic waste. The calorific value is too low, and that's why not a single case of waste-to-energy plant success story you find in India. So how do you look at it? And then, as far as liquid waste is concerned, we are also aware of our fact that nearly 31% of the urban households do not have access to piped water, and nearly 67.3% of Indian households are not connected to piped sewage discharge system. What does it mean? I mean, where is all this sewage going on? Where all this is passing on? That's why we find real challenges coming up. And of course, and then there's this 210 million people lack access to basic sanitation in India. I do not have to speak on that because Professor Manvita is an expert. My concern, Professor Manvita, is that we have actually brought in Mahatma Gandhi, and so October 2, we all, right from the top to the bottom, and you know what I mean, top to the bottom, we carry brooms. And unfortunately, we have reduced Mahatma Gandhi to a senior sanitary inspector. That's not how things have to work. We have actually reduced substantially the number of workers. In fact, we have shifted them from the formal to the informal sector. The kind of social security network that they used to enjoy is completely gone. What is your take on this? If we have to speak on sanitation for all, all these three compartments I want you to address. And then, of course, we'll have question and answer later on, right from the planning part, from the processes, and the actual implementation of Professor Manvita.
Thank you so much, Tikender ji and Dr. Arun, for inviting me. Very important points you've raised, and I'm thrilled that IMPRI is spearheading this discussion. It is very important. There are many forums which talk about it, but I guess this platform is good to reach out to large number of people, and especially elected representatives and also people in the local governments itself. So with that, I would start from a point where sanitation is basic to our needs. It's one of the very basic needs of human beings, but also as citizens, it's important, and especially so now that we're urbanizing so much. Maybe early days, one would think of dumping garbage anywhere or using less use of toilets, etc. But that is not the case. We all are sensitive to the use and importance of better sanitation. Traditionally, though our societies were more sustainable, and hence throwing out anything wasn't an option. But with consumerism and the kind of capitalism we are facing, the needs are increasing. The throwaway actions are too much, and hence we all know garbage is increasing. So that's about solid waste. So solid waste and liquid waste are extremely important for us to manage. Now, the onus of managing solid and liquid waste is on the local governments. Urban development can happen only if and only so with better management of our services. We all know about it. There are 3 tiers of the government: the center, state, and the city. The center can only guide, states can also guide, but real action is on the city governments. Now, if you look at the structure of city governments and who are the people really making decisions, so we have elected wing and the bureaucrats or the administrative wing. Both together, when they resolve to solve, things can magically change. Unfortunately, many of our city governments are not equipped with enough people or equipped with the kind of know-how which is required to manage this very important problem. Not that they don't know, I would say, but the real challenge is keeping pace with everyday's needs and everyday's changing of technology, changing of aspirations of people. In a day, if one person kind of throws out about 500 kilograms of waste, and that's the norm in larger cities, if that much waste is generated every day by one single person, how much waste are we generating in a city? Now, if that is not put to pay, either we reduce our waste, we don't generate so much, or we recycle it appropriately. The developing or kind of nations such as ours, which are in the process of developing, I would say, we have still sustainable practices. Traditionally, also we had sustainable practices where our wet waste wasn't thrown. We would make compost. We would, or also animals would eat it, and we had systems for it. Unfortunately, as we are urbanizing fast, we're living in 3, 4, 10-story, 25-story apartments, and what happens is waste managing from each and every household, if not done well, is becoming an eyesore. We have so many dumps and dump sites, unfortunately, more and more coming up. However, there has been a change, I would say, since 2014 was a landmark when we, as a government, they announced Swachh Bharat mission. A concentrated effort was made to put in effort to give funding, support, technological support to address liquid and solid waste. I wouldn't say it's enough because, I mean, our work is to go and see the cities and mentor at times, build their capacity. So we've seen some of the cities are really, really struggling. We do have good examples in Indore, where, I mean, so many times they've won the awards, but also really made systematic change. But what about smaller cities? What about cities where the challenge of people is there? How many people are employed? What is their, how do you really build their capacities? It's always a challenge. There are many sanitation workers. Cities employ them. Most of them, again, there are various models. I'm not trying to generalize here, but still, city staff, some of them are employed, but there are many, many others who are in the informal sector. They're not recognized, either doing solid waste work or liquid waste work. Now, for liquid waste, there is an act which suggests that some of the manual scavenging will not happen. However, cities face tremendous issues managing their liquid waste if you don't have centralized sewage system. There has to be a system where maybe septic tanks are cleaned regularly. People involved in cleaning of septic tanks do it safely and with dignity. The sanitation workers employed by the cities have a different story, but there are many, many workers even today who are invisible. These invisible people receive a call when any of the open drains or nalas are overflowing. The citizens want it to be done immediately. And if the city government does not have enough staff or equipments or their desludgers in place, or then citizens resort to calling anybody who is interested or anybody who would want to clean. Unfortunately, maybe they don't have enough equipments. So the work done is not done well. It's unsafe and undignified. Governments have tried to address it, I would say. There is an act which says, the PAMSARA Act, which in 2013.
Professor Manvita,
yes.
I just need to raise a point here.
Sure.
And this comes out of praxis, sheer praxis, I would say. This comes when I was serving the city of Shimla, being the deputy mayor from 2012 to 2017. And then also when we were writing the vision document for Leh. Now, I do not want to create this binary between, big waste plants. I mean STPs, the sewage treatment plants,
Right.
and decentralized fecal sludge management plants. But given the situation, and given the reality, what we've seen is that unfortunately the push from the center is for more STPs. A, because it's more capital intensive. B, then the users are forced to pay the user fee per toilet seat or whatever the model is. The model happens to be different in different states. Not realizing whether that is conducive or that is feasible for a town or not. Whereas we could have easily gone for a more democratic, decentralized form of sewage treatment. So, what should be done in such a scenario? Because people do not want. I mean, of course, on someone's head is fine. Not I mean, as I say, not in my backyard, someone else's backyard. Likewise, for liquid waste, this happens. So I know I don't want that binary to come up, but actually that's a reality. So definitely there's some places where you require large STPs, but some places where you can easily go with fecal sludge management plants, which are like very cheap, and that and can be easily run. So what's your take on it? Yeah.
Definitely. And STPs are very time and money intensive. They are large. It's difficult to manage. Smaller cities have not been able to. We've done a lot of studies, and also in cities of Gujarat. And I would quote one of our in Gujarat, we as a government has taken a stand that we'll have STPs. We are not going the FSTP way. While many other states like Odisha or even Telangana, Andhra has, or even Maharashtra has set up STPs, FSTPs. More than 100 FSTPs are in progress. But Gujarat had taken stand many years ago that they believe in centralized systems. So an example from Patan, I would say, we've done a study that even if all houses are hooked up, even if the central lines are laid, all the waste would go to STPs. Even then, the kind of monies to be raised to break even the cost of its treatment would be so huge that no political wing would allow that. They would not want to, and people will oppose it. So who's ultimately going to run your plans? Are you totally going to depend on your grants? And how much grants? Where are your own sources? So if the city government has to raise its own resources, what will happen is there are not enough monies to do that. So either you increase your taxes or depend on outside sources, while it is your own waste. So this is going to be a huge issue. And as you very well said, cities like Shimla or even smaller hills towns, you have to have a policy where decentralized sanitation work is going to be need of the hour. Large plants, even for solid waste, have failed. We have seen that the kind of waste composition which comes to in our country is not good for large plants. The ideal way is, which we propagate, source segregation in different bins, create a waste, the wet waste management, which would be composting, or it could be any ways of composting, it could be vermicompost or anything. It would be done at the ward level. Don't create heaps of garbage. And this is very well possible, and some of the cities have demonstrated it. The second way, for the dry waste, has to be separately channelized and can be really addressed. The bio waste or the medical waste has to be treated separately, and it has to be taken to a incineration or other smaller plants where one has to address it. It cannot be all mixed waste and then sent to a larger plants. I think individually a lot of us city officials understand, but collectively somehow it is just not working. And a lot of advocacy needs to be done. Fortunately, some of the films which have been made and propagated are on one of the SBM e-learning portals. One can look at it, but a lot more awareness of people is also required, with the awareness of city officials and elected officials. So that's my take. Decentralize as much as possible, do house segregation. Without that, our cities will not remain clean. And for the solid waste, for the liquid waste, FSTP is a way forward. It is not always very cheap, but decentralized FSTPs are easier to manage, and people who are working in sanitation sector has to be taken care of. We have to work with them. So as again, coming to our next point, Tikender ji, is we are talking of convergence. We're talking of convergence between livelihoods, people who are involved in sanitation work, and sanitation itself. As a country, we have created infrastructure in last 5 to 7 years, but haven't really thought of who are going to maintain this infrastructure which we have created. So one large onus is on city governments. Who are the people behind operations and maintenance of sanitation work and sanitation infrastructure? Those people should have a choice either to continue to be in the sector or can move away from it. It cannot be hierarchical, caste-driven work, which is an eyesore, which is not appropriate for our country, which is secular, which talks about inclusivity and sustainability of work and people. So I guess work should be choice-based, and if there is a choice, the safety of these people involved in these jobs have to be kept in the utmost importance, given dignity, because this work is difficult. So I guess my take is that people are important. So we brought out a convergence guidelines between NULM, which is National Urban Livelihoods Mission, and SBM. So as urban management sector, which I head, we are one of the technical support units working with the ministry to talk about convergence. And I guess the success story is in 2-3 states which we have worked, and many other organizations have also taken this up. I would quote here our work with Odisha government. Right now, and Odisha has taken the stand, one, they are building FSTPs, which is a laudable experience and experiment they are doing. So many smaller towns, and you know, Odisha urbanization is relatively lower. But in the recent years, a lot of people are flocking towards the city, and population is increasing. It's now 30+ percentage, 32%. Now, in such small towns, if you're talking of centralized system, it will take ages to clean up your cities. And there are problems. I mean, many of our cities have problems, but a new state in a way, trying to clean up the work which they've undertaken is important. So FSCPs, and secondly, SHG movement, getting women coming together, forming their groups, being empowered, not only to whichever work they would want to take. And a lot of sanitation workers groups have been formed. Women from sanitation worker communities have come together and said, hey, look, we are a collective, please help us. We can say, we can take up jobs with the city on cleaning of public and community toilets. We can help run FSTP plants. We can clean your streets. And these women are very, very dedicated women. And our work with them has given us confidence that is a way forward. Women coming together, taking onus, and then moving forward and supporting the city government. Yes, so that's an important area. Yes,
I think, yeah, thanks, Professor Manvita. Just two more points I wanted to flag here and probably also ask. And that again comes from our experience. The first is with respect to solid waste management. Even when, forget about self-help groups being engaged and, composting and then selling it in the market, I have the experience and example where a municipal body was into composting, and I took that compost to my house, and it didn't work. So, and there were flies all around. I was completely abused by the family members. I said, what the hell have you brought? So the standardization is something very important. What do we do with it? You know what I'm trying to say, because this is required definitely.
yes.
Maybe not in a town like Shimla, where the temperature is quite temperate and it takes a longer period for composting. But yeah, definitely decentralized. I'm in full consonance, full conformity with you that yes, this is the way forward if we have to sustain for long. So I think, but that standardization is something very important. The second part is, and that again comes from Shimla, is we had a havoc when till 2015-16 there was this recurrent outbreak of hepatitis, kind of epidemic, and thanks to the running of the STPs, because these were outsourced. Again, supervision is very important to private players, and they hardly used to run, and that's how. And there was this excess and corruption, and the STPs were literally sewage wells, and then the same was thrown back into the river system, and 7 kilometers, 8 kilometers downstream, it was again lifted back to the town. And every alternate year, we used to have this outbreak of darkness. Of course, then we intervened, we created a utility. Not a single case since 2016 has been reported. That's what resilience is all about. But it's a long story. Just to cut it short, the point is, this binary or the duality in the administration, because water is being supplied by someone else in the city. So at a larger framework, I think that supervision and fixing the owners. Because I myself filed that police complaint, and I think 6 engineers were behind the bars. But that set the ball rolling. So kind of transparency. So every day now, in Shimla, you don't require ROs for that matter. Your tap water is potable, and that happened through an accident. That accident taught us. So the point is that when we talk about sanitation, I think water is a very key element, and of course, sewage treatment plant. So that supervision. And at the same time, I went to another sewage treatment plant, which is run by a university, and you can make out the difference. The BODs and the CODs. The only difference is I asked the guy who was running it. He said, "I treat it as a temple." Now, the dignity that you brought to the fore is, I think, very important. So I think that so convergence and dignity. I think we have to understand those issues. How can we mainstream that? I think that's what I want to ask you. And thirdly, this dignity question, I think this is what has to be copied, Professor Manvita. And since you are attached with the ministry, or maybe you can influence the ministry, like I am a kind of a complete antithesis to what the ministry is doing. Yeah, so, but they must emulate what we have done in Leh. You must visit Leh and you must visit the sanitation workers. Some of the, when we speak of dignity, we made the city government to invest some 40 lakh rupees when the temperature is minus 20 degrees. They have shower, they have washing machines where they can wash their clothes, they can watch television. It's a beautiful place, and it's for the sanitation workers. So 3 hours, 4 hours, they frolic around. There are, I think, 7 or 8 washing machines that we made them to invest. They just throw their clothes, and this is what we learned during the British Raj. Of course, I'm not a great fan of the British, but in Shimla they had those boilers when our sanitation workers used to go back home. The large boilers which used to heat water, and that's how they used to take a bath. No such facility I find in other towns. I think those things have to be created, where that dignity, when they come back, they ought to have the shower. So the city government has to come in, that decent work kind of stuff. I think, and of course, self-help groups can play a very important role. That's it.
No, very true, very true. And you raised just very, very pertinent issue. I'll start from the third and then move to the first.
Yeah.
The third one, I would really compliment you about the Leh FSTP plant. I've seen it personally myself, and I loved it. And it's
not just FSTP, but also the recreation room. And it's not there. It's somewhere else. It's in the town. Yeah.
Right. So no, that's a commendable work, and getting influenced by that, we're working with, as I said, Odisha government, and they have now made Garima Grihas. Garima is a name of a scheme which the government has come up with for safety dignity of sanitation workers. Now, exactly our point and what you said, that sanitation workers do important job. Unfortunately, they have to handle waste, which is also hygiene issue. So unless they get PPEs, and PPEs, which are the personal protective equipments, which are gloves, masks, somewhere helmet if required, all boots, gum boots, waders suits. So it prepared an inventory. They have purchased it. It is now being, the sanitation workers are being trained through interpersonal messaging, interpersonal discussion, and also we are making films. Now, these workers would come to their work in the morning. We call them master stations, but a ward office where they are assigned work, which jobs they are giving. Before that, they need to change into PPEs. Until this point, not many city governments, with the exception of yours and some of them in Odisha, have a space where sanitation worker can go, change from sari into a PPE or wear. They need some privacy to change, wash, keep their own clothes which were they want from home. Somewhere they would put a locker or a latka sakte hain, and then they would change into those PPEs, go work, finish their work, come back, take bath, have maybe chai or nashta or whatever they want, and then go home, so that they don't carry the germs or infections back home to their families. So this is a must, right? We've seen world over that this happens. Why not in our country? What are we lacking? I mean, we are a country which has resources. It's just, I think, a lack of planning and management, and which we could see example which you brought in Leh, and also examples now in coming up with each and every ward office in Odisha is a way forward, I think. So there's the Garima Grihas or something, a place where people need to change.
I must visit Odisha. I mean,
You should actually.
Yeah, okay.
You'll be happy to see. I can also share some pictures and
sure.
films with you as well.
Oh, please.
So that is a way forward. There is so what they've done is there is an direction which is given by the state government. The principal secretary is very, very engaged into the whole process. And the government order has given to all municipalities. They are constructing it. Along with that, procurement of PPEs, and very interesting third thing which they've done, which other cities can learn, is considering sanitation work as high risk. They changed their allowance by 30 to 50%. So if a sanitation worker is always said that this is a menial job, you have an X amount paid. While here, they have said this is a high risk job. So the risk allowance is topped on the salary, and now it's a good amount for them to take back home. So this was done in consultation and coordination with the Labor Department of the state government, which is again a best practice. So one can look at these directives also. The second point, Tikendraji, which you brought out, and very importantly, is the monitoring by ULBs. Our urban local bodies, unfortunately, once they give outsource work, they think that their job is over. It is easy probably to work ourselves than to get others to work for you. In the same principle, if you don't have indicators, if you don't have measures for monitoring, if you don't have a system for monitoring the work, it is always a challenge. And most of our city governments believe that once given out work, it is their job ends there. On the contrary, the job is increased, because whether the people have come, whether the QC is done, the quality control, when, how, why, how do you write a contract, how do you do it, what kind of people you would require for supervision, how many supervisors required for X number of people, all these norms are available. Unfortunately, we don't adapt it. And with a staff challenge in the municipalities, it becomes much more difficult. We have, again, as Urban Management Center, started an urban college. And I would, through this platform, also suggest that anybody who's interested in learning about urban issues and knowing, we have courses starting from 5 to 16 weeks on these topics, where there would be a charade, or there are examples, the design groups are created. So from design, execution, implementation, monitoring, all these aspects are covered. So this is one way we thought is important, that our city administrators get to learn more, coming together, learning best practices and moving forward. So this is one aspect we can talk about. The second, what you mentioned about monitoring, there would be SOPs. The standard operating procedures are necessary for city governments to have. Some of them are prepared and it's in the public domain. Anyone can use it. Like, what is a regime for water surveillance? It is our CPHEO manual, which is a huge document of 1400 pages, give instructions to cities how and what to do. But do city governments have their own manual or a SOP, standard operating procedure, कि मैं biological test ये time में ये moment पे करेंगे हम, या this is how do you do? And you have done tremendous work in water in Shimla, and I'm aware of it. But if the city government has to, say, take samples for every 25th house or every 100th house, do we have that regime? We don't have. So that regime has to be set based on the CPHU norms or the directives and rolled out. So this help is required. And city governments want to do it, but they are unaware of the regime which has to be set and which has to be documented. So that's my second point on monitoring. The first point, Tikendraji, you mentioned about municipal compost. Again, your experience is experience of many of us as well. And why so? Even with good intentions of municipal compost, and they want to sell it, etc., the kind of waste we collect from households is not segregated. You will find batteries, you would find biohazards. You would find sanitary napkins, diapers also mixed, unfortunately mixed with this waste. Unless we do a good job of communicating this to our city citizens, you're not going to get a good segregated waste. Any mixed waste is going to be contaminated. And hence our municipal waste is not well. We don't get it. Excuse me. Just 1 second.
Yeah, please take your time, no problem.
Right. Sorry, I'm back. So that municipal waste, and if it is not segregated well, it's going to be contaminated and we are all going to face these problems. So your point about not being able to use is imminent. Actually, even I think ministry brought out a directive that municipal waste has to be used first in the fields, but and replace that with chemical fertilizers to support organic farming. However, that has not been done precisely for this reason. And I guess we should not be, we should not be propagating that, because until the time we do a good job of making a good compost, we should not use it in our fields. Otherwise, it goes into our food.
Absolutely. No, Professor Manvita, that's my point. This has to be some agency to standardize it. That's my point. Yeah.
Very true. But segregation is in the hands of city people, and city governments have to ensure good segregation. So I think outsourcing it is not a solution unless they themselves decide upon. Citizens cooperate. It's not also government. Citizens also sometimes do a very bad job of it. Or even if they want to do it, the city governments at one point just mix all the waste. If I am giving, मेरे घर से 3 बाल्टियां जाती है, but मेरे सोसाइटी के गेट में तीनों का एक हो जाता है, तो what is the purpose? And then I would always argue कि क्या मैं तो ठीक करती हूँ, सरकार नहीं करती, और सरकार बोलती है आप ही नहीं कर रहे हो. So it's always a blame game. So yes.
Thank you so much, Professor Manvita. And I think Arjun is there. Arjun, because you wanted to raise some issues regarding rural sanitation, and because better you just go ahead and take that point. Yeah.
But sir, let me take 2 broader issues first. One would be, and many scholars do highlight that cities has sanitized themselves, but they are also doing this institutional defecation, what Tikender sir was highlighting. Of, ma'am, how do you see this term coming with the rapid urbanization our country is facing? And secondly, why do we neglect sanitation in our urbanization process? It comes always to the bottom, and now we are having Mahatma Gandhi as the fore of it. How do you see this conundrum going ahead towards realizing the sustainable development goals?
Yeah, thanks, Arjunji, for your questions. Open defecation is it's a big subject. Though government has tried to address it by building and giving targets to city governments to build toilets. Individual toilets is a way forward. Each household should have its own toilet. But we all know there are busties and there are dense settlements where building of individual toilets may not be possible. In those areas, it is also suggested that you can have community toilets or public community toilets. Public toilets are mainly for visitors or floating population, but community toilets. However, we all know that maintenance and operations of these community toilets is a huge issue. घर का टॉयलेट तो कोई संभाल के साफ कर भी देगा, but community toilets, when my neighbor has used that space and I am supposed to clean it, is an issue. Unless you have group toilets, you have key to that, maybe because you don't have space, आपने एक जगह पे 3-4-5 toilet लगा दिए, and maybe you tell these houses would use one toilet, these houses will use second toilet, then there is at least some ownership or feeling of saying it's my space, I need to maintain. And of course, Gandhiji said so many years ago that unless you do your own work, unless you maintain your own toilet, it's not going to be. You cannot give this work to somebody else. Now, a lot of things are linked with it. One, who will clean and why somebody should clean your toilet? And if somebody is cleaning your toilet, what is the safety dignity you are providing to that person? Why are they a last person in our society? Why are they treated so? It requires a lot of introspection, the way we look at our society. It's hugely inequitable. The second point about defecating in open, and it also begins from the point because you don't have good toilets, and understanding is also lacking, because even if you see children can be allowed to defecate in the open. They don't have smaller seats. They don't have places where mother or a parent or a father can, or anybody from the household is helping the kid to use the toilet appropriately. The schools don't have toilets. So where is the education? What is their exposure? Where do they understand the need for a toilet comes from? The hierarchy between the person using the toilet and person cleaning the toilet is also huge. So there are immense issues with that. The open defecation also happens because you have dense settlements. You have places where people cannot use the toilet. I would say their attention, their knowledge is not enough. What happens in the hygiene? So health hygiene has to be linked with our work with sanitation as well. So sanitation is neglected, and I totally agree with you. This is not only an urban phenomena; it's also a rural phenomena, and a huge school sanitation is also a huge phenomena where it's still lacking. We have built some toilets, but we haven't given charge of maintenance to the community, and communities are important. Yes.
Right. One more question, ma'am. Whenever we talk about sanitation, especially in our country, the aspect of behavioral change or the community involvement gets very much highlighted, vis-a-vis the kind of infrastructure or the expenditure we do in terms of capital or O&M, as you're highlighting. How do you see this conundrum of behavioral change? Because almost in all aspects that comes and adhering with the guidelines. Also, on the part of regional or spatial dimension, there is this issue of peri-urban. So as Tikender sir was highlighting that there are so many of landfills coming in the vicinity of the city. How do you see, when we see the data in rural areas of be it any villages, then we see the wastewater outlet going to the low-lying area, almost 80%, 70, 60%. How do you see that regional aspect for sanitation, for environmental consciousness also? And in villages, we have some schemes where we give some awards, 10 lakh, 20 lakh. Do you think we also require this kind of competitive ranking or some kind of incentive to urban wards as to compete with themselves and to improve the sanitation services in their area? What do you think of these aspects?
Thank you. O&M is important. O&M, who pays? We unfortunately, our governments have given money for infrastructure, and they're saying O&M is your own sources. But we all know, and we've seen the budgets of the cities, O&M is very much neglected. If you were getting money out of the taxes has not increased for so many years. People are unwilling to pay is probably a fallacy. if you're giving good service, people will pay. And that monies have to be paid by the citizens. You have to have your O&M, or when you're given a grant, the central government and the state government has to put in a component of O&M, which is neglected. Unfortunately, it's not there. And unless we see sanitation holistically, if you are spending so much water to flush the toilets, that water has to be collected. It cannot go out in the drains and be puddles, or your ponds and your lakes are being contaminated. You have to have a system where you clean that water. There has to be recycling, and that water can be again used in the flushing system. Some of the, but it requires if this system, who is going to, one, you have to have engineering college starting from there. How do you teach your engineers to do this? How do you then tell the city governments to be able to allow building plan permission process with dual plumbing system? How do you how do you get your citizens to accept the change? It's going to cost a little bit more, but if that cost is explained to the citizen that it's offset by a huge environment cost, people will understand. Or people are not dumb, but the communication does not happen appropriately. So my take here is two ways. You have to have know-how, you have to communicate, you have to do advocacy with the city governments, and you have to tell your citizens what is right, what is appropriate. And that requires good communication. Communication with the citizens, bringing them on the same table, discuss with them, that is lacking in our governments. We believe in giving directives. We believe in saying, ye karo, ye kaise saath milke kare, wo hum nahi karte. And that is my biggest complaint when it comes to working with the citizens and the government relationship.
I think, Arjun, here I would like to raise a point, and that is, you know, what Suptendu Biswas wrote in his book, The Assorted City. Actually, all of this has to be mainstreamed, and what Prof Manvita is saying, convergence is so essential. Now, take the example, Delhi. I mean, when we speak about water, I mean, had they plan, and for that matter, the Delhi Development Authority and all the agencies that are linked in the planning process, it's a catastrophe that they've done. It's a complete catastrophe. You know, all their sweet water streams have converted into sewer canals, and now they are coming back to me, to Himachal Pradesh. And there's a dam being constructed in Renuka, where they'll submerge large tracts of forest land, and then the water will be supplied to Delhi. I think all those issues at back to back also have to be discussed and kept in mind. So it's not just the people, actually, it's the planning process and the way we are planning our cities, which is like completely unsustainable. And then the burden will be mounted on the people that say, actually, it's not their fault. They used to get water right in their neighborhoods, but all that is contaminated now. So I think those issues also have to be raised. I mean, we should not leave. We should not leave that aside. And we should always bring that example of Seoul. You know, when they brought down the flyover and the highway, just a remnant of what is there, and they brought that stream back to the citizens. I think that's what is required in the urban reality. Okay, Arjun, you.
Yes. Let me just bring in the part of the policy, how we are looking at it in the Swachh Bharat Mission Part 2. We have Jal Jeevan Mission, Amrut, Rurban Mission, and for villages also, so many of schemes coming. Ma'am, how do you see the investment going in? And when we are talking also in terms of communication, we see big hoardings outside the airport, not where it should reach. So I totally agree with your point that we have to work together, not as a directive. And many international scholars are also highlighting that the component of IEC is not being spent, especially when it's come to sanitation? How do you see, and are there any other forms of communication which you see which will be useful? When we talk to policymakers, they really highlight this fact that there is a fallback. When we talk about school sanitation or public toilets, how to improve on this, especially on the monitoring part, if ma'am you have any experiences to improve on the fallback and all these processes to improve simultaneously as well as sanity.
It's extremely important how you communicate and what is your medium of communication. And by medium, I'm not saying English, Gujarati, Hindi, English, Odia, but I'm talking about medium of communication as whether hoardings work, whether newspaper advertisement work, whether our culture, as I believe, is an oral culture. We like when somebody talks to us. There is interpersonal communication is a core of our belief systems and the way we shape our thinking. So I would suggest, and that's how we have figured out in our work at the Urban Management Center, is we've made a lot of films, and we believe drama-based films on this topic is extremely important and very successful. It could be documentaries, but more format where people can relate themselves. So recently we just launched, with the support of the ministry and USAID, a nice part series called Misal. I'll also send you links. It's on YouTube. It talks about a basti and how the basti comes together to solve their civic issues. It is also with the local government. So unless you have we have resident welfare associations, and what you mentioned in Delhi also, there are so many successful examples as well. But if the people living in bastis and dense settlement, they also come together, form a committee. Typically, we call them Misal Samiti, but they come together, they come discuss their issues, raise it to the corporator or a council member of your community, which is also their job. They're supposed to be meeting their citizens very often. And under the NULM, we also have created a platform which we call it Sahbhagita Manch. It is again told to each and every city government to form such Sahbhagita Manch, where your citizens and your corporators can come together, address their issue, and talk about it. This experience has been captured very well in the drama-based series called Misal. And maybe I would urge you to see them and send us a feedback. So this is one way of bridging the communication. The second way to bridge communication is door-to-door or gate-to-gate discussion. You have to create forum. By putting a hoarding and putting large somebody's pictures is not only going to help you. Your city government's required to go to people and just not have complaint redressal system, but have a method in which you connect with your population, which is now lacking. So these are my two points I would like to raise and mention here. And the third last point I would say is the planning process which you raised, Tikender ji, is planning cannot happen in the four walls of the offices. Planning process is basically a consultative process. People know their solution, but they are not empowered enough, or the government machinery has to sit with the community and find solutions. And after that, you can draw your plans. It cannot be rural. It cannot be just urban and peri-urban in between, where they are neither getting anything out of it. It has to be a continuous process. Regional planning is a way forward. We have not recognized regional planning as a statutory planning process, which probably we need to see and look into as a country. So that's what my belief is.
Tikender sir.
He's on mute, I guess. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, wait, I just need to because I just take off my earphone because it really pains after some time.
Maybe I'm too loud.
No. It's the earphone that's the problem.
Yeah.
So I think, Arjun, do we find any questions from the participants?
No, not here, sir. But sir,
there was one on my Facebook post, but I don't know whether. But I asked her to just join and maybe ask. So let's leave that. That's what.
I think that.
Sorry.
We also.
Okay, great. So thank you, Professor Manvita. I think it was a very enlightening discussion, and looking forward to your work, especially in Odisha. Probably, let's Arjun and I probably plan sometime to visit Odisha
Sure,
and try to understand. Yeah, because I know Odisha is also quite exemplary as far as land tenure rights are concerned. Actually,
Right.
It's coming up as a model. Especially when we see gory videos of what happened yesterday in Assam. It's a heart-rending scene. I mean, people being shot at, and likewise we see in Gurgaon. Now, so actually, Odisha is coming up as a model to giving land tenure rights to people.
Yeah, they call it Jaga Mission.
Yes,
it's interesting.
Yeah. So probably, I think we should try to understand that and get somebody who could, or ma'am, if you could connect us to some, so that we just try to understand. Of course, we know the Kerala model, what Kerala is doing as far as people's participation is concerned. Then we have something happening here in Himachal also, but maybe we need to just dig out more in Odisha. So thank you, Professor Manvita. It was really enriching discussion, and I think the important point that you raised, that it's your shit, man. You manage it yourself. I mean, don't trust. I mean, if you can't do it, no one else will come and do it for you. I think that's the lesson that we have to learn. Well, thank you so much. Yeah, Reena Deepak. The question by Reena Deepak: kindly include menstrual hygiene in the deliberation. So Simi has sent that question. Ma'am, would you like to address that? Because
Sure.
that's a question that was raised on my Facebook wall. But I'm glad Simi has raised it. Please go ahead if you could answer. And then probably a vote of thanks from Arjun. Yeah.
Sure. Thanks for this question, Marina and Simi, to bring this up. Menstrual hygiene is extremely important, but has been neglected. I would say two things here. One, the use of sanitary napkins is creating a hazard for people who manage waste. Unfortunately, awareness of how to treat that and collection of sanitary waste or diapers is not taken it separately. With all my talk about segregation of waste, this is not handled well. So what happens, it goes into the mixed waste cycle. It contaminates not only other waste, but also people who are managing waste, because unfortunately they don't have gloves, they etc. You know the issues. So it is a big health hazard unless we manage it differently. And how can it be done? The directives say that there should be a third bin. There can be a red bin or a black bin, and this could be collected separately. Indore has done a good job of it. Every household is collected. There are 4 bins now. The electronic or the tube lights, that is separate. Your menstrual waste and your diapers are separate, and your wet and dry. So there I see a beginning. I see that there is a commitment from a city government to take it separately and treat it with other biomedical waste. But at individual levels, it might be difficult, but there are other options. Recyclable, reusable cloth or reusable material is one way to go, or using of the other equipment, such as putting the menstrual cups, is also one way forward. If we change our practice appropriately, I'm sure we should be able to address it. But as government, they have to channelize a separate way to capture or to collect that waste and treat it separately. That's what I would like to end with.
Great, thanks. Thank you so much, Prof Manvita. Arjun, over to you for the final comments. Yeah.
Right. Yes, final. Anshula will do a formal vote of thanks. Anshula.
Right. Thank you. On behalf of the IMPRI Center for Habitat, Urban and Regional Studies, I would like to formally thank all of you for joining us today for this web policy talk. We are grateful to our speaker for today, Professor Manvita Baradi, for taking out the time to join us and for delivering this very important and very insightful talk on safe sanitation for all. Thank you, ma'am. We are grateful to Mr. Tikender Singh Panwar for moderating the session, and to all of our attendees who joined us here on Zoom or on Facebook Live, or will watch us later on YouTube or listen to us on our podcast. Thank you for joining us. And we hope that you continue to tune in to future episodes of Local Governance and our other web policy talks. Thank you very much, and I wish you all a very good day. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Do all the material as I promised. Bye-bye.
Thank you.